Raise your fists together. I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Red and yellow, brown, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Everybody is somebody. Stop the violence. Save the children. Stop bullying. Save the children.
Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sonia Whitaker, National Education Policy Director for Push for Excellence. And on behalf of the Rainbow Push Coalition, we'd like to thank you so very much for giving of your gift of time and joining us here on our Saturday morning forum. We'd like to thank Word Network for bringing you to us and us to you. And yet we recognize there are many of you that are watching us right now on Facebook Live. And for those of you who are doing so, we'd like to ask that you like our page. And for the many of you that are watching us right now on YouTube Live, we'd like to ask that you subscribe to our page so that you may gain immediate access to all of the content that we have in store for you. And speaking of content, we can't do this without you. We need your support, and we've made it really easy for you to give. You may choose to simply pick up that cell phone of yours and hold it to the QR code on the screen and give right on the spot. Or you can take that same cell phone and text the word PUSH to 41444. Text PUSH to 41444. You may also elect to simply go to our website at rainbowpush.org and click on the donate button. Now, whatever you do, do not move, do not touch that dial, sit tight. We'll be right back because the push is on.
Hi, I'm Tim Lee. Push Excel is committed to celebrating African American history 365 days of the year. And as this week comes to a close, we want to highlight some of the moments that happened this week in history, moments we think youth ought to know. On May 17, 1954, the Supreme Court handed down its decision in Brown versus Board of Education, ruling that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. This landmark decision reversed the effects of the Plessy versus Ferguson decision, which established a constitutional basis of racial segregation. On May 18, 1955, just one day and 1 year after this historic event, Mary McLeod Bethune died at the age of 79 in Florida. Born in Maysville, South Carolina, Mary McLeod Bethune was one of the most influential women of her generation, an educator, civil rights activist, and women's rights activist. Mary McLeod Bethune dedicated her life to ensure that African Americans were free, treated with dignity, and had a first-class education. Among her many accomplishments, she founded what is today Bethune-Cookman University in Daytona Beach, Florida. She co-founded the United Negro College Fund, helped to integrate the Red Cross, and was even appointed by President Franklin D. Roosevelt to the National Youth Administration in 1936. And also this week in history, May 19, 1925, El Hajj Malik Shabazz, better known as Malcolm X, was born. Malcolm X was a Muslim minister and civil rights activist who wanted Black people to be so proud of their Blackness and so confident in their abilities that they could be self-reliant as a community, living separately from the other Americans who treated them as second-class citizens. He was one of the most important and influential leaders of the civil rights movement and one of the top African American orators in American history. Was today your first time hearing about Brown versus the Board of Education or Plessy versus Ferguson? Was today the first time you heard the name Mary McLeod Bethune or Malcolm X? Well, I hope you learned something about our beautiful history today. But before we go, I want to leave you with today's quote, and I want to leave you with the in the comments section. Here's today's quote.
If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. You pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that the blow made. And they haven't even begun to pull a knife out, much less try and heal the wound. They won't even admit the knife is there.
What attorney and head of the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund and future Supreme Court judge represented the plaintiffs in the historic case Brown versus the Board of Education? If you know the answer, leave it in the comment section below. But if you don't know, conduct some research so you can know. And never forget what Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson teaches us, and that is, your mind is a pearl, and you can learn anything in the world. Listen, friends, that's all the time we have today for What Youth Ought to Know. Until next time, I'm Tim Lee.
Push Excel's goal is to inspire students to strive for excellence in education in spite of personal, family, and community challenges that they might experience. How do we do this? By advocating for educational policies that guarantee equal funding for all students without regard to race or economic standing. By engaging parents, students, and teachers in pursuing high-quality education and striving for educational excellence at every level. And by forging partnerships with community-based and public sector stakeholders in education. Now, Push Excel is a national model program with the purpose of connecting principals, parents, popular personalities, and students in a bond and to support students at every level on the educational ladder. Now, we want you to become a member of the Rainbow Push Coalition and Push Excel. Your annual membership can help us to change policies that impact students, colleges, and universities all around the country. So step up and sign up today. Membership is only $35, and if you're a student or a senior, $15. Just go to our website, rainbowpush.org, and push join to become a member or push donate to support the Push Excel program. You can also text the word Push Excel, that's PUSHEXCEL, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give us any amount that you feel comfortable giving or call us at 773-256-2775. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you. And remember to keep hope alive.
Welcome back. I'm Dr. Sonia Whitaker, National Education Policy Director for Push for Excellence. And you are joining me here on Spotlight on Education. And I'd like to spotlight an education topic that I'm sure that you will appreciate today. Many of you are attending graduations or have a loved one who's attending a graduation or are a school or district official and are hosting graduation ceremonies across the entire state and even more specifically across the entire nation. And while we recognize that graduation is the time of the year that we honor those who have contributed their talents intellectually to the school districts, we also recognize that there are many students that will remain in America's public schools who have yet to graduate. It's those students that I want to focus on for just a few minutes. Let me remind you that just a few years ago, the same students that I am referring to, much like you and me, experienced the impact of COVID-19. And unfortunately, not all, but many of our students experienced summer learning loss. The reality is that what we need to begin to do as we move in throughout the month of May and into June is to begin to think about, number one, the mental well-being of the students that I am referring to. And I say that to suggest that I think that we all recognize that they're going to need some form of a break. It's natural for their brains to want to rest. And yet at the same time, I want to encourage you to begin to think about, not only in the home setting, but in the community setting, but in the school and district setting, what we can do to provide for our students learning activities in the summer. Even in environments where they have a tendency to want to relax, we are always presented with an opportunity to ask the students that we love, and in some cases the students that we serve, to read a book. If those students that I am referring to are taking a family road trip, spending time with loved ones, going on vacation, what we want to encourage you to do here at Push for Excellence, again, is to seek an opportunity to provide them some level of learning, some level of academic experience associated with the trips that I am referring to. For those of you who are like me, who are responsible for summer school programming and the like, I want us to again be reminded of how much the students that actually attend the summer school sessions actually need us. And so with that being said, in order to experience some level of acceleration as it relates to student performance, what I'd like to encourage you to do is to really take the next few weeks to analyze the strengths of the students that we serve academically, as well as those areas that we've identified as areas in need of improvement, and to build our summer school and enrichment programs around the specific needs of the students that we are servicing. And the reason why I provide that level of recommendation is because very, very often around this time of the year as educators, we do get really busy wrapping up the school year and then recognizing that we do have to service those students that make themselves available in the summer school program. If we're not careful, we can inadvertently offer to our students summer academic and enrichment experiences that are not tied closely enough to their interests, as well as to the skill sets that we want to build in them. And so what I am suggesting is that we as school and district officials practice what I like to refer to as the policy of intentionality as it relates to determining not only what those students' academic experiences will be like as it relates to summer school, but the enrichment experiences as well. I'd like to highly encourage you with regards to the enrichment experiences to not just determine what those experiences will be like based on students' academic performance, but determine what those experiences would be like based on what students need to be exposed to that they've not always had enough exposure to. And so, for example, in my case, in the district where I lead, we are taking advantage of this opportunity to close the STEM equity gap. And so in other words, as opposed to contributing to from the school to prison pipeline, our intent is to contribute to the school to STEAM and STEM pipeline. And we intend to do so by infusing STEM and STEAM education throughout all aspects of our summer school programming option for those students who need enrichment, as well as for those students who are struggling academically. And so again, I end by encouraging you, once again, to be intentional about your efforts to provide the students that you love, be it family members and/or students that you support, be it those of us that are in academia, with the type of experiences they need this summer to continue to grow in their learning. And so there you have it. Thank you for joining me on Spotlight in Education.
This is Bishop Tavis Grant, the Acting National Executive Director of Rainbow Push Coalition, and this is State of the Movement. You know, this week we just finished our Intentional Inclusion, Creating Opportunities Push Tech Conference, and I want to thank Dr. Joseph Bryant and his team for a job well done. You know, African Americans' buying power based on gains, population, and income is somewhere around $1 trillion. More than half of our population today have a life that is lived in the digital age. 19 million African Americans, for example, are Twitter users, and the numbers are growing exponentially. Black households stand to lose out on $350 billion in wages by 2030 if we don't get involved in the tech sector. While we're 12% of the population, only 8% of the entire tech workforce is African American. That percentage is even smaller when you look at those in C-suite CEO positions, which is somewhere around 3%. And then it is even smaller when it looks at those who are in transitional positions throughout the technology industry. And so we have a tremendous opportunity when we look at platforms that are specifically designed for African American engagement. The idea of diversity, inclusion, and equity becomes more and more real to us as we look to repair undeserved and underserved communities. Businesses, non-for-profits, and organizations in the public sector see a coordinated effort in increased Black participation and Black representation in the tech sector. Streaming, for example, is the primary source of entertainment for African Americans. Look at this startling statistic. Streaming videos that are seen more frequently by African Americans have made hip hop and R&B the #1 genre of music globally, and it is just the very beginning. When you look at the power of the African American influence, whether it be in engineering, innovation, or creating new platforms, the intentional initiatives of diversity, equity, and inclusion cannot be ignored. And it is fivefold, according to Reverend Jesse Jackson. 1 is relationship, 2 is apprenticeship, 3 is mentorship, 4 is scholarship, and last but not least is internship that builds partnership. That's why we were so thankful to have the relationship with Brian Tippins and the Cisco team that put on a phenomenal platform of presentation and engagement along with Wells Fargo. And we'll be revisiting this at our annual international convention, July 15th through the 19th, right here in Chicago. The first day will be here at Dr. King's workshop. You know, African Americans are leveraging their innovation in technology across all digital platforms. And we're using technology not only on the playing field, but in every field that is made available to us to not only have a seat at the table, but make our own tables in the global marketplace. For example, when you put together Apple, Alphabet, Amazon, Facebook, and Microsoft, you have a $3 trillion business. That is larger than the China economy, the Germany economy, the British economy, and the American economy. And yet we must have access, we must have availability, and we must have an audience in this sector. Only when we leverage our power collectively do we see the gains, do we see the opportunities, and we see a sense of fairness and equity in this sector. Work value in the tech market is very important. The average software engineer makes about $84,000 a year, not counting opportunities, stocks, bonuses, etc. But think hypothetically how much wealth could be created and how much wealth could be developed and how much wealth could be distributed if we had a wage increase that we know is partial to the solution of resolving the racial wealth gap that we have today. Our mobility, our ability, and our competence is always heightened when you address these inequities and you make sure that we indeed not only have our slice of the pie, but we're able to make our own and create our own bakery. And so it is so important in times like these, when we look at these numbers and these opportunities, that we do our very best to raise our voice and make sure that we're not just seen, we're heard, and we are respected. Black women-led firms, for example, receive less than 1% of the $430 billion that is available in tech venture funding. Our analysts have revealed to us in our research that it's not only the power of our vote, but it is the power of our economics. Black consumers, for example, are now indicating that they're willing to shift nearly 30% of their current aggregate spending, which is approximately $260 billion. This shift is shifting and transforming and transcending to bring better goods, services, and resources and programs to the African American community to the tune of almost $40 billion. Imagine that kind of economic flow, that kind of economic accessibility, that kind of economic resourcing could change and produce the kind of behavioral freedom that we deserve in new net spending. Now, technology is the revolution that is being broadcast, and it's live and in living color. And we now have this moral obligation, and we have this social responsibility to ensure that the legacy of African Americans as inventors, as creators, as engineers remains to be the force of change that challenges America to be better than it has ever been. Whether it's been in our language, our music, and our way of being, the credit goes to those who have been groundbreakers and who have ensured that we indeed have our place in this market. The tech industry is no exception to banking, automotive, and other sectors where we look at the innovations of what we're able to provide, what we're able to create, what we're able to establish, and what we're able to sustain. This past week, CNBC released its list of 50 disruptors. 14 of them were women, 13 of them were from multiracial backgrounds, and yet when you look at that list, it becomes an imperative for us to realize that the work of the civil rights movement and social justice has simply been to disrupt the current status quo to ensure that we too can have the same, and if not better, than it has ever been. This year's 2023 convention is going to highlight the innovators, the creators, and those who are groundbreakers in the tech industry. And of course, we cannot say enough about the work and the legacy of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. Imagine, if you will, all of the money that is invested, all of the money that is created, all of the wealth that is built at a tune of $362 billion in evaluation. Guess what? We are on the field and we are on the front line, and this is why we will continue to keep hope alive. This is Bishop Tavis Grant, and this is State of the Movement.
Greetings, friends. This is Dr. Joseph Bryant Jr., the Executive Director of the Rainbow Push Coalition West Coast Silicon Valley Bay Area office. And all I can say is, wow, what an amazing 8th annual Push Tech Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Conference we had last week. We are so grateful for the incredible vision of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson and how he was able to navigate opening doors, providing pipelines and access to opportunity in Silicon Valley. And we are standing on his shoulders. We are building in his honor, and we are continuing to see impact because of his voice and vision for the Valley. And then on May 8th and 9th, right there at Cisco, shout out to Brian Tippins and his amazing staff and team and colleagues and coworkers that provided such a rich experience for us for our 8th annual Push Tech Conference. It was amazing as we came together for the first time in person since 2019. And we want to share with all of you some of the experience that we were able to take in and just be encouraged, educated, and inspired as we were equipped and empowered to do even greater work, building bridges, providing the navigational tools to be able to access opportunities, build on emerging technology, bridge the digital divide, and do great work. On Monday night, we were able to have our kickoff, our Keep Hope Alive reception. We had a tech expo. We had augmented reality. We had artificial intelligence. We had metaverse presentations, and we were able to give some awards to some amazing people. So check this out, my friends. Enjoy these highlights from the conference. We'll have some now, we'll have some later, but we want you to take it all in and get ready to enjoy the journey as we did for Push Tech 2023. Keeping Hope Alive.
In 1962, John F. Kennedy said, "We choose to go to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and to measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, one which we intend to win, and the others too. Thousands of scientists and engineers, the best minds of the nation, were trained, and within years, we landed on the moon." Silicon Valley and the tech industry is the most dynamic, innovative, and creative the world has ever seen. It can do anything if it wants to, if it sets its mind to it.
Technology has reshaped the way we work, the way we live. The possibilities really seem limitless.
And the pace of change in technology is really staggering.
Whatever you can think of when it comes to technology, I feel like you can create.
There's no limit on creativity, and you never know where creativity is going to be launched from.
There are enormous opportunities in the tech sector. This is where the world is going.
It's the new job market, and it's the new literacy. Like, if you don't know how to code, it's going to be equated to not knowing how to read soon.
People who come with great ideas, with big problems to solve, really have the opportunity to solve them in a big and meaningful way.
By the year 2040, 42% of the U.S. will be Black and Latino.
1.4 million jobs in technology will open by 2020.
If you think about technology, most people historically used to think about it as just computers.
People don't realize you need all jobs. You need jobs in marketing, in HR, in finance, in PR. There's a number of roles and responsibilities.
Top salaries, never an issue. It's a well-paying job, where you're creating something every day that's making an impact not just on you or your people around you, but on the whole world.
There's a lot of folks in the room who have been told for whatever reasons that technology is not a safe place for them.
Young people of color are incredibly technology savvy. There seems to be this gap between sort of, I use the technology, I master the smartphone, and then translating that into a career.
Having technology be more pervasive in education will help give more students more opportunity to actually enter into it.
If you want to build a career where you have lots of opportunity for growth and development, tech is that area.
The opportunities are huge.
Explore, be super curious, get under the hood of the car, to get messy.
don't quit. This industry is run by people who can be creative in their thinking. Encourage your peers to go down the path with you as well.
We hope that everyone who's interested in tech will give it a try and know that there are people in Silicon Valley and across the nation who are there to support you.
Be proactive. Be an agent of change.
We have a massive opportunity right now to change the face of how things look and how things are.
We can change the face of technology for the better.
We do need to change the face of the industry.
We have to change the face of the tech ecosystem.
Change the face.
Change the face.
Change the face.
Change the face.
To just change how business is done and how people live.
In Silicon Valley, inclusion is the key to equity and parity. The question is not can they, but will they? And they must. This world is our world. Our best days are ahead of us. Go forward by hope, not backwards by fear. And so now let's face the change and change the face of Silicon Valley.
I am Joseph Bryant Jr., the Executive Director of our West Coast Work and Push Tech and Silicon Valley office, and it is a joy to be here. And we want to thank our amazing host, Cisco. They've already rolled out the red carpet for us. Haven't we had a wonderful evening already? Cisco's done an amazing job. And we're going to have a great night. This is going to be a very, very special night for a lot of reasons, not just because it's the first time gathering together. Since the pandemic, the last time we had an in-person event was 2019. The last few years, we've had our Push Tech events virtually only, 2020, 2021, 2022. But here we are back in living color, masks off, looking good, healthy, strong, and happy to be here. I need you to do something really quick because you know, even though I am leading this work, I still am a gospel preacher. So I need you to turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, you look good tonight. Let me just say to you, what you were watching as we walked in the room was a part of our evolving work. That was a display of the metaverse, and that was a demo of a tour of the White House narrated by President Barack Obama. And that is one of the many projects we've been able to partner in to do over these past few years as emerging technology takes over our world. You may have seen some of the tech out front. I saw some of you with your Oculus glasses on. I saw you out there taking advantage of some of our tech partners that wanted to show us the wonderful things that are happening in emerging tech. And let me tell you what's happening in this room right now. You need to know that this is a special space that we're in because we are live streaming through drones tonight. We are not plugged into a traditional system. We don't have a traditional AV. We have drone cameras that are set throughout the room that are picking us up and airing us around the country, including to headquarters back in Chicago. So here from the West Coast, can you make some noise so Chicago can hear you? For all of you being here. And before we move forward, let me just say a particular word of thanks on behalf of Reverend Jackson. He has been such a champion in so many of our lives. So many of us have stories, and throughout tonight, we're all going to touch on those stories about Reverend Jackson. As you all know, for the past 6+ years, he's been battling Parkinson's, and when I say battling, I mean battling. He is not letting that disease slow him down or stop him from doing the work, but every now and then the doctor slows him down and tells him that this week is not a week you need to do too much because we want you to be in optimum health. So Reverend Jackson, you're watching us right now from headquarters, and this room is a room of Keep Hope Alive advocates who love you so much. Can you all say, we love you, Reverend Jackson? Make some noise for Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson.
Thank you so much.
Listen, I'm so thankful for meeting you and the conversations we've had over the years. He's been one of our most outstanding virtual speakers. I mean, he has just killed it every year, and I'm just grateful for that. And hearing about your leadership, you're considered an advisor to venture capitalists and venture capital organizations. You're considered an ecosystem strategist and leader. You are considered a policy change agent and leader. All these things are now, you can Google them all you want, and you will see these consistently listed. And all of those things in one package as you do all of that because you want to help other people. Talk about how you got to this place and you're using your platform in that way.
Well, thank you. And first, great to see you, and thank you so much, Pastor Bryant. And I want to thank my mentor and really icon of my life, Reverend Jackson. So much of what I do is because of him. I was blessed to grow up with him. So I was in many meetings with him, and I saw him open up Toyota Motors to black ownership of dealerships. I saw him take on the telecom companies. I saw him open up so much black wealth that it changed everything.
Right.
So, you know, I'm from Berkeley, 5 generations. My family migrated west in the late 1800s and made it over there for a better life. It was a brutal fight. We fought along the way. It's very dangerous. And we got to Berkeley, and we got involved. And my grandfather was the first black realtor in California and was responsible for bringing many people into Berkeley and West Oakland and to Richmond and even to L.A. And one thing he taught, you know, my mother and her sisters, one of which you may know, Roscoe Dellums, Ron's wife, my uncle, was that the key to making it is to go against the program. And the program for us has always been to work for free.
My. Come on.
That's what it is. We were brought here for one reason and one reason alone.
That's right.
To work for free.
Come on.
So your job, your number one job, is to get paid.
Say that again. They didn't hear you in the back.
Yeah. Your number one job is to get paid. And so my mother went on and became an activist. We traveled the country, and we went from neighborhood to neighborhood, from Chicago to Atlanta to D.C. to Baltimore to Hartford, Connecticut, Detroit. We stayed in all these public housing places while she organized people as a Black Panther. And I saw it with my own eyes.
Right.
This is what it is. These people are generations of landless people turned loose, no resources, and denied access to resources.
Right.
So, you know, from there, I ended up in Chicago, and that's where I spent time with Jesse Jackson. And one thing he said to me, I was graduating high school. I said, what am I going to do? And he said these words. He said, what would you do if you could do anything?
Wow.
And I thought about it. I didn't know what to say. He said, think about it, Benny. Think about it, Benny. And I still think about it. And everything I do now is about fulfilling those words, because we are in the age of manifestation. We can make anything happen.
Right.
And my job is to fulfill the promises I made to him and my family and all of our families. Is to use whatever powers I have to open the doors and use whatever I got, whatever's here, so that we can get in and create a better life for our families.
Come on now. Come on.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful to hear how Reverend Jackson impacted your life at such an early point, and now you get to come literally full circle, as we talked in our first few interviews with you, and how Reverend Jackson's work in this space is significant to you, especially as you carve your own path and you're doing all these wonderful, I mean, every time we talk, you're starting a new business or you're opening up some other opportunity. Talk about your passion for what the tech industry gives us as it relates to access to opportunities, access to capital, and access to economic stability.
Precisely. So technology is important. And first off, I want to say, it may seem like a remote thing to you, but we are all technologists. Ever since the cotton gin got us off the fields, we've embraced technology.
Come on.
So African Americans are the most early adopter group in the country, from remote controls to beepers, cordless phones, internet, Facebook, Twitter. It goes on and on and on. Metaverse, and now AI.
Right.
So we are the people of reinvention. We came here with no name, no language.
Yeah.
We invented ourselves, and we still are. So it's our birthright to own technology, Because it is ours.
Can you say that again?
It is our birthright
Repeat after him.
to own technology.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Good
it's
stuff,
it's
good
not
stuff.
foreign.
Yeah, yeah.
These are our tools to extend our reach. So technology is great because it allows you to have a rapid delta, a great advance quickly. That's why it's so powerful.
One of the things that we've discovered, even in being in rooms like this, is that a lot of people have a passion to give back, to help, to do something. They don't always know where, they don't always know how, they don't always know where to start. And so just from your experience, how can some of the folks in the room, again, this is a family gathering, how can we begin to think about where we pour some of our energy, resources? I mean, you start off with a Facebook post. All of us, you know, I mean, I'm hoping everybody's moved to IG by now. If you haven't, make that transition. Or do both. Just do something. Because if you want to keep up with anybody, you know, that's under 25, you got to be on IG. But the reality is, you know, it doesn't take much oftentimes to have that kind of impact. What can we do? What can we begin to think about? What can some of our leaders in the room, some of our executives in the room, community advocates, what can we begin to think about and how we can do our part, even in supporting you? Because we want to support programs like this, don't we? Yeah. All right, all right.
So a couple of things. First and foremost, shameless plug. Mark your calendar. You know, October 7th, last year, I took about 125 people to Inglenook Winery in Napa, and we had our end of the year fundraiser. We'll have a couple of people that were in the room that I will point out later that you can talk to and find out about their experience. But it was
Thank you. All right, got a shout out right there.
Wonderful event. And it's a fundraiser to give you some exposure to the work that we're doing. We have corporate sponsors. We also take, you know, individual donations. I look at it this way. I also started out early on supporting President Obama's first run for office. Mm-hmm. And the way that President Obama revolutionized fundraising was that small dollar amounts make a big difference if there are a number of people that are contributing.
That's right.
So you could raise millions of dollars if you had 1 million friends.
That's right.
So I got into networking for the sole reason of I used to walk home every day from school when my mom was at work. I said, wouldn't it be great if I knew enough people that I'm walking on the street that somebody recognizes me and give me a ride? That's how I started I started networking in 7th grade with that. That was the thing. So now I think I might get a ride, you know, if I'm in the East Bay. Now, you know what I'm saying? But so it's that network. So many hands make light work.
That's right.
And so, you know, you can go to thesocialengineer.org. The name for my organization, you think of social engineering, you think about stealing passwords and doing things bad online. It actually comes from a quote from Charles Hamilton Houston.
Come on.
He laid down the groundwork from the Brown versus Board of Education cases. He said, a lawyer is either a social engineer or a parasite on society.
My.
So although you don't have to be an engineer or a scientist for the quote to really make sense, we look at it as you're either part of the problem or part of the solution.
Kevin Nichols, everybody, come on. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. You wanted to help educate us a little bit, and we're going to see a metaverse video from some of our Push Excel program in a minute, but I wanted the expert to come talk first a little bit. How would you describe the metaverse to someone who's just hearing about it for the first time?
So I don't know. Did you all see Jeopardy a couple weeks ago? So on Jeopardy a couple weeks ago, the metaverse was the final clue. They said, what is the term that is about to describe like the upcoming technology, so much so that one of the big companies has changed their name?
Right.
Nobody got nobody got the answer. So for all of you who are thinking, oh my gosh, this term is saturated, it's everywhere, the answer to anybody who calls on your name and you're like, what's the answer? You're like, metaverse. The answer is metaverse. There's chief metaverse officers out there now. The term isn't actually that saturated because 0 people on Jeopardy actually got the final answer.
Wow.
So what is the metaverse? Today you look at the internet. In the future, you will be part of it. You will be experiencing it. For us, the defining quality of the metaverse is presence. And that really breaks open like a whole bunch of new opportunities and possibilities of defining like what does it mean to break down physical barriers that have faced us for so long. Across so much of the tech evolution, and there have been a whole bunch of evolutions along the way. So if you think about it, we've evolved from PCs to mobile and from sending text to photos to video. In our minds, we're about to move from having these mobile devices to new forms of cloud computing devices. Those will probably look like some form factor of either glasses on your face or another form of physical form factor. That sounds wild and crazy to a lot of us. To your children, it's not crazy.
Right.
That is the future. So what is the internet that's going to support all of those Internet of Things and those glasses? It's the metaverse. You can call it whatever you want, but it's just the next generation of the internet. It's going to be what supports those physical form factors that will make connecting so much more present and meaningful. It's really about the presence.
One of the things that I observed, even as we started doing the White House tour with President Obama, you know, we've been able to brag about that and talk about that a lot. But it's like a 3D experience that you get to engage with, right? That's a pretty decent description of it.
That's right. So if you think about like a lot of the experiences you have on the internet today, they invite you to something. So if you are shopping for clothes, you can look at it and maybe like pick something from either Amazon or your favorite shop online. If you go to, let's say you want to like play a game online, you sort of can look at it. What if in the future you were shopping online and you could try the clothes on before they actually got to you?
Wow. Any ladies in here want to try on their clothes at their house?
I don't know, but like for me, that would be incredible. What if you were shopping for real estate and you could actually like, we're starting to see some of those 3D tours already, but what if you could like see that space before you actually, like, what if you could tour that space without leaving your house? For people with disabilities, for people who have physical ways that you can't travel, these are going to break open ways that have been barriers in the past for a lot of different communities. So we get really excited about what are the opportunities. So a lot of people talk about gaming, but also what about education? So what about in the past where we've always been a very physical community where you've had to go to school? What if somebody, a middle school or high school student was learning about the pyramids of Giza, and you could actually like go to Egypt and see them? For me, like that is the reason I got into this. Like if my niece and my nephew or the next generation don't learn about it by actually seeing it and doing it, we've missed the mark on this. This is about education and really seeing and doing. Like I'm speaking to you here because this is the way that I like to communicate and I like to learn, but other people want to see and to do things. So whether it's, you know, seeing the White House or getting to like experience things in real time and do it, that is a new way of travel. That is a new way of education. That is a new way of gameplay. This is what the metaverse could be about.
I'm thankful for you coming all the way from the East Coast.
Yes, New Jersey.
And well, I wasn't gonna shout it out for you. I was gonna let you shout it out.
I'm proud.
I know.
Girl.
Camden in the house. I got you. All of that. I got you. But talk a little bit about the fact that before you even got involved in this work with Airbnb, you were already an advocate. You were already just and as youthful and as energetic as you've been all these years. You went to college down there in the South somewhere. Where'd you go to college?
Clark Atlanta University.
All right, yeah.
Okay, yes.
But literally ever since then, you've been on the front lines everywhere you could be. Talk a little bit about that part of your beginnings and that passion point that started you on this path.
Yeah, well, I started my career in corporate America, in a different aspect of corporate America, working in Medicaid insurance. And there was something about it that didn't connect with me. And I sought out an opportunity to go and become an AmeriCorps Vista So any AmeriCorps folks in the room, shout out to you all. Oh, okay, one right here. No, everybody else is like, what's that? It's kind of like Peace Corps, but in the United States.
Right,
so
right.
think of it that way. But I did that, and I realized I could have a career in the nonprofit sector. And for me, that was an unlock, because it really allowed me to sort of pivot from this role that I didn't fully connect with into the advocacy work that I think is so important. And that led me to National Action Network with Reverend Sharpton, which again was another unlock. I think I had always been an activist in my heart. I remember staging my very first walkout as a 13-year-old in freshman in high school because they didn't celebrate Black History Month. They wanted to turn it into Multicultural Awareness Month, and I was like, this is an affront to me because I don't get to celebrate my heritage, and it's an affront to everyone else who only gets this 1 week. So in any case, it was a pivotal moment for me to be able to step into this role at National Action Network. And that was, the moments where I got to meet legends like Reverend Jackson and be up close with him and march with him. We did a march from Selma to Montgomery as a reckoning a few years, not a few years ago now, I guess it was 10, 15 years ago, where we were really trying to highlight some of the issues that the original march was highlighting and bring voter equity to the forefront of the conversation. And then I never imagined that I could find myself back in corporate America. And it wasn't until Laura Murphy, who will be speaking tomorrow virtually with me, she was, working with Airbnb. She was consulting with Airbnb, and she asked me, I had left National Action Network, she asked me, would you ever consider working in tech? And I was like, oh yeah, sure, Laura. But in the back of my mind, it was kind of like, I don't see myself in tech. I don't see a place for me to exist. This activist I had at the time was working on the Women's March, the original Women's March. And so it was kind of like, I see myself more in the civil rights space. Like that's my next step, is after this march, I'm gonna focus on, continuing those efforts. And when I started to learn about Airbnb, I really found a company that I connected with, that had a mission, that had values, that really aligned with mine. And at the time, they were confronted with some challenges. Airbnb While Black was something that people were learning about, and the company itself was learning about and grappling with. And they leaned all the way in. They didn't look at it as a PR moment. And for me, that was a real game changer, because I could see myself in a corporate setting, but my whole activist self being in a corporate setting and being welcomed as that activist version of me.
Get involved with the movement.
Somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Join the movement.
If you're not a member, become a member.
I am somebody. Fighting the most important battles for freedom and justice for all.
You made us change. Oh, trying to bring closer.
Join Rainbow Push.
But you're not pushing me away.
Join the movement. Join Rainbow Push.
We're excited to get more people engaged and involved in Rainbow Push, supporting the programs of Push for Excellence and the Citizenship Education Fund. Now, if you're interested in public policy and you want to help change the policies that impact those who are incarcerated, you can do so. If you're interested in impacting public policies that benefit education and businesses with social economic solutions, you can do that as well. You can become a policymaker by becoming a member of Rainbow Push right now. Now, if you believe in the scholarships that we've given to thousands of students each year, you can help us out. We've awarded more than $10 million in scholarships year to date. Now, You can help young people achieve a higher education by becoming a member of Rainbow Push right now for the annual fee of only $35. And if you're a student or a senior, it's only $15. You can help us make a difference in the lives of millions. Now, if you watch us every week, or if you listen to us on the radio, or if you're viewing on social media, we need you to become a member. And how do you become a member? It's simple. Visit us at rainbowpush.org and press join. Maybe you'd like to support the work of Push. If so, it's really simple. You can do so by texting the word PUSH, that's P-U-S-H, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give any amount that you feel comfortable giving, or you can call us at 773-256-2775 or go to rainbowpush.org and push donate. So whenever you want to support, you can do it from anywhere. So keep pushing, because we're going to keep pushing for you and keep hope alive.
So thank you for joining us on our Saturday morning forum. Be sure to visit our website at rainbowpush.org so that you can gain information relevant to our up and coming annual convention. You'll also want to visit all of our social media platforms so that you can gain additional information about all that we have going on in the organization. And equally important, we appreciate your ongoing support. Feel free to take that cell phone of yours and hold it to the QR code on the screen and give on the spot, or take that same cell phone and text the word PUSH to 41444. Or you can simply go to our website at rainbowpush.org and click on the donate button.
We are sanctuary. We are a sanctuary.
When I think of Rainbow Push, I think of two words: social justice.
Education advocacy.
Political empowerment.
Freedom and equality.
Corporate partnership.
Stop the violence. Save the children. Don't get in. Shut it down. If we don't get in, shut it down.
Political change.
Inclusion, evolution.
Progress, justice.
Jesse Jackson.
Keep hope. Keep hope alive. Alive. Keep hope. Keep hope alive. Alive.
We want to be bridges to end these cultural gaps.
We're going forward. By hope. By hope. Not backwards. Not backwards. By fear. By fear.